A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I am your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me, as always, the Lando to my Lobot, it's John Campbell.
Which means in this week's episode, you're going to beat the living shit out of me.
I did destroy your knee once, John. It was an accident, to be fair.
That's true. That's very true. A misjudged stunt, because, of course, that's what we were doing. I took a Gargoni straight to the knee.
Yes, and I'm
deeply
sorry about it.
No, it was our stupidity for trying to make movies that had stunts.
But yes, we are here in the epic confrontation, friend against friend, lovers turned enemies. It's a issue featuring Lobot v. Lando.
I mean, I mentioned this last week that because when you're going through the app like we read these on, it'll just immediately, it's always trying to send you to the next issue. So I did see this cover at the end of last week's episode. Holy God. I was like, what? No, not our beloved Lobot. Where he has turned to the dark side.
We'll get into, beloved Lobot. I think this speaks to, a larger conversation about Star Wars in general, but we'll get into it as we get into it. Because, yes, today we are covering issue number 56 of Marvel Comics Group Presents The Star Wars. This issue originally came out in February of 1982. We have much the same creative team as we had last week. We got Dave Michelini on writing. We've got Walt Simonson with a dual writing and penciling role here.
Yeah, I would be very curious to know what specific story beats Simonson came up with on this.
I mean, like in a lot of Marvel comics of this time, and a lot of times, you have a lot of leeway given to the artists to shape the story, and sometimes the writer's job is just to fill in dialogue. And this is at a time in which Walt Simonson's beginning to flex a little bit in terms of coming into his own power.
Yeah, because when does his Thor run start?
I want to say 84, 85, somewhere in there.
I mean, he's starting, it's 83 to 87. So, I mean, he's about to get there. We're really seeing the trail that leads us to probably. I would say the most iconic Thor run. I don't think that's hyperbolic.
No, it's tough, right? Because you talk about comics history as a whole, and we're now far enough away from Aaron's run of Thor,
which I think that sits aside. Those are the two, right?
Right, those are the two. And honestly, I've been really enjoying Immortal Thor right now.
Yeah, I haven't started on. I'm excited because I loved obviously Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk run, and there's a lot of great. Welcome back to Thorcast. There's a lot of great Thor runs. I love that because I know we're both big fans of the J. Michael Straczynski Thor.
It had some interesting ideas, to be sure.
That's the thing. A lot of people have done interesting stuff with Thor, but the two that I go to really, because I'm not like a rabid Thor reader. He's a character I definitely is contingent on the creative team. But when he's done right, I love him. Simonson, and then it really is to Aaron. But Simonson up to Jason Aaron was sort of spoken of, though it's not as epic a run, a little bit in a Claremont on X-Men manner, right? Where it's sort of like, oh, he just owned that character.
Well, because that's the thing, right? He owned the character as a writer-artist, and who then transitioned to just being the writer. And I don't even know if Claremont had the same kind of I don't know.
Well, Claremont had the
full control over it. I mean, he was controlling all those characters for a long time,
right? It was sort of the thing about he sketched out the structure of the thing. All everything had to get the approval from Claremont.
But what Simonson has over Claremont is the clarity of vision and less of a sprawling kind of tapestry that the X-Men has. Thor is really focused, and that's what makes it special.
So that's all to say that this is definitely a guy who is not an artist for hire, so it's kind of not a surprise to see that he's maybe going to start exerting a little bit more creative control over this comic, because number one, you'd be a fool not to listen to Walt Simonson's ideas.
Yeah. To finish off our credits,
Yes.
got a little sidetracked there. We got Tom Palmer on inks, Glennis Oliver Nay Ween on colors, Joe Rosen on letters, Louise Jones, eventually Simonson as an editor, and we've also got our shooter in the distance with.
Did you
Jim
see what
Shooter.
he's credited as here?
I did not.
Favorite son, Jim Shooter.
Now look, Jim Shooter is a lot of things. I don't know who Archibald Shooter is. I'm just assuming his father's name is Archibald.
That's S-U-N, favorite son.
Favorite son?
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
It's a space joke.
So he's the bright point from which all life derives its power.
I think that's the idea behind this. Yes, exactly.
Oh, Jim Shooter.
That to me is a perfect example of what something Jim Shooter thinks is funny.
Now, here's the thing. Either it is Jim Shooter insisting that he is the bright point at the center of the universe, or it is one of the creative team here being like, he thinks of himself as so bright, he's the frickin' sun.
That's another thing too. This could be a Michelini or Simonson dig, or even a Louise Jones joke. I don't know, because as we know, he did not make a ton of friends at Marvel. People don't have amazing things to say about Jim. We've talked to people who've worked with Jim Shooter, and I'm always quick to ask people about Jim Shooter because I love Jim Shooter stories. And nobody's been like, "Oh, that guy was awesome. What a great dude."
John, I feel like the culminating work of your life as a creative individual needs to be the documentary about
I've
the
said
rise
this
and fall
many
of Jim
times.
Shooter.
That is a dream project of mine. It really is. The Shooter years documentary is a big one that I think that is coming. I really do. I think I'm a few years out from that existing. So keep your eyes peeled on Kickstarter for that. All
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to our cover here right off the bat. We have a classic two-fisted slam on our boy Lando. Lobot's going Captain Kirk on his ass.
I was going to say, I didn't know Lobot was a graduate of Starfleet Academy. Because that's classic fighting stuff. Because I love when you see that, like, Riker does it, too. Like, it's like, oh, that's just how they teach people to fight. But, yeah, he is dropping the hammer on our boy.
Yeah, so hard that, like, we're getting some Kirby crackle coming off of his neck.
Look at that. Also, something I've never thought about until I was looking at this. I just never thought about Lobot shoes.
You never think about most Star Wars characters in shoes because they rarely pan down to those shoes.
Like Han Solo has distinctive boots. That's about it as I can think of, like for footwear that, I mean, obviously Vader, it all kind of reads into the armor. He's got boots that go with the whole aesthetic. We talked about this, like when we talked about Yoda having knees. You're like, oh, I mean, I guess he would have to, but I don't wear and I don't want to think about it.
So knowing Lobot's wearing some loafers, like, it tracks.
That's the thing that I like about it, is they're just such normal shoes. And actually, Lando is also wearing just more heeled, like, dress shoes.
That makes sense to me, though.
Yeah. Well, he's a formal dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You do just go. I mean, I will say, good job on this is a Walt Simonson cover as well. Because of course it is. By the way, I mean, like just the posing and the way the action is moving is very Simonson, which is, as you talk about the Kirby crackle and stuff like that. Obviously, Simonson sort of is the next evolution of the Kirby style in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And that's why I think his Thor run is so lauded a lot of the time, is because it seems like such a natural evolution of the Kirby, like, New Gods stuff into this.
Well, Simonson a little bit is Kirby if he could write. Because I love Jack Kirby, of course. But Kirby was not a gifted writer. Amazing artist. An amazing visual storyteller. But when it came to actually having people talk, look, and I love Mr. Miracle so much, but it's a tough read in places. And same thing with New Gods. Great ideas, but when you're like, oh shit, Ryan is a very awkward sounding dude. Well,
look, sometimes you have so many ideas in your head, you just need to put them all on the page, and whether or not that is the correct move was not there was no one around to tell him otherwise at the time.
Right. And I think that's where you see the like in the battle of Stan versus Jack within fans' minds. It is like, I can see what Stan did bring to it. Having seen Kirby on his own, I do see where Stan brought some stuff to it. Anyway, yes, this is very dynamic, though. But I was going to say, good job on this, because I would have picked this comic up. Are you kidding me? I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, because let's start off right off the bat talking about Lobot a little bit, because you said, like, fan favorite Lobot, right?
Yes, I did, half jokingly, of course.
But there's also some sincerity there, because one of the things about Star Wars, and one of the things that I think attracts fans like you and I to Star Wars, is that while you do have these like great iconic characters as our main characters, there is also just this tendency in Star Wars, the best of Star Wars, have these things, and whether they be like secondary characters with maybe a line or two of dialogue, or just background characters a lot of the time, it draws the eye, and you're like, what's going on with this? And like, some set designer clearly had a field day, some costumer went over the top, but they're doing it all over the place, and it really lets you like track new details every time you see a movie. And so like in Empire Strikes Back, we have this guy who I think, does Lobot even have any lines in Empire Strikes Back?
He does. I was going to say, when he was talking this, I was one of those things where we've talked about this a few times in the comic. When he had dialogue in this, I was like, I don't have context for what Lobot sounds like. Like, in my head, I can't think of what. I mean, you imagine it being somewhat robotic, or at least affected technology-wise. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think. I don't think he says anything in Empire. And write in below in the comments if he does, and we've forgotten it, because I will say our loyal viewers are often like, guys, you've clearly forgotten that scene where this happened. So then that's fair. That's valid.
If he has a line of dialogue, he has a line of dialogue.
There's no more than one. I would feel 100% certain on that. I can't say it's none, but there's no way it's more than one. He's just around. And your eye is drawn to him.
He's a striking bald man with a weird visor strapped to the back of his head, and
he's a reverse Geordie LaForge. Yeah,
he's a backwards Geordie.
Yeah,
and well, Geordie needs his visor to see. Lobot's had his brain replaced.
Well, that's the thing. Has he? I don't know. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean,
later canon would establish that he is a cyborg. And in fact, they go into it a little bit in this book. We'll get into what constitutes cyborg powers again.
Here's the thing about this issue, and one of the reasons we want to talk about Lobot, and this is a Lobot-heavy issue, but definitely made me go, do I know Lobot? Like, how much do I know about Lobot? Because this was presenting stuff where I was just like, I mean, the biggest thing to me is I was saying this before we started recording, but the biggest thing to me throughout this whole thing is that they keep calling him the Lobot.
It happens a couple of times, and again, this comic has a very fraught relationship with cyborgs in particular. People who have replaced bits of themselves with machines. It seems like they took the line from the first Star Wars movie where Obi-Wan says he's more machine now than man, and kind of ran with it as like cyborgs equal evil. And we saw that with Valance, and we are kind of seeing that with Lobot now.
Yes, because it's interesting, like, Lobot is a cyborg, but this really treats him as like totally programmable in a way that I've never thought about.
Well, and they go into it a little bit in more detail, especially in the more recent Star Wars comics, where actually Lobot gets a lot of attention in more recent Star Wars books.
I think that's what's also throwing me, is I've read a lot of the Lobot stuff, in whether it be the Lando solo series, or, I mean, because obviously where the comics are set now, there's a ton of Lando and Lando related stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's what the weird thing about where we're reading right now is that the current Marvel comic that's actually wrapping up is covering the same ground. So we're actually seeing people in contemporary comics rewriting this era we're talking about on the show.
Absolutely. But in that like Marvel rewrite, what is considered the current canon, Lobot has this tragic backstory of being Lando's like best friend, who's like brain gets really messed up in some accident,
Right.
and they basically have to turn him into this programmable man who is sort of a shell of the guy Lando knew, and Lando keeps him around out of a sense of guilt, it seems like.
That's great. How dramatically interesting.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's awesome. This turns him into just robot guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess let's get into it to
Yeah.
tell you what we need. Start with a very dramatic Lando. Is there any other kind?
I just like, I just like the idea of a guy lost in thought, but he's clearly taken a long time to pose in thought. Let me just get my leg up here, and yes, now I can contemplate.
In case anyone is around to take a holo projection image of Lando Calrissian, he will always be in a pose that enacts drama.
And he had to find the exact right place for that gust of wind to beautifully blow up his cape. Perfect. Look at him. As I stand over Cloud City. And then immediately the grandiose way, the universe is a place of puzzles. And I love this description. And for a habitual gamesman like Lando Calrissian, the challenge of those puzzles is the spice of life. Habitual gamesman.
I mean, that's Lando to a T.
Well, because that's the difference, right? Han is the outlaw gunslinger. Lando is the gambler, which is also another, of course, trope and archetype of. But that's the thing. It's like, sure, Lando can kick ass, but Lando more con man.
Lando's got the card up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Like, that's classic.
Yes. So that's perfect. Habitual gamesman, I thought, chef's kiss. Perfect description of him.
We were bemoaning Michelini a little bit last issue.
Yeah.
With all the weird psychic rodents and flying goo monster. I feel like this issue is kind of getting us back on track, I feel like.
Yes, I feel like the stuff that weirds me out about this issue isn't Michelini specifically as much as it's just he doesn't have a roadmap for what Cloud City or Lobot is. There's lots of stuff in here that conflicts what comes later, but that's not Michelini's fault.
Yeah. But if you were a fan of thought bubbles, specifically Lando thought bubbles, you're going to get your fill and then some in this issue. And we start off right off the bat with Lando thinking to himself, I don't get it.
Well, I don't get what, Lando? Well, we better turn the page.
And now so many Lando thought bubbles. What's your feeling on this? Lando is basically thinking to himself a recap of like, I'm back here on Cloud City, but everybody's missing. What did the Empire do after I left? And I'm kind of guilty about leaving in the first place.
You know what my thought on this is, which is this is all valid information, but could probably have been condensed.
But I guess this comes down to a constant back and forth, I think, that comic books itself as a medium have, which is thought bubble or caption box. And
I lean caption box.
Modern comics have kind of combined the two in a lot of ways, especially if you're reading like Batman or Punisher, where it's like the caption box is the inner monologue.
Well, and it's in both of those, it's often contextualized. Punisher's War Journal or Batman's Diaries or whatever, right? Like these are guys who keep notes anyway, so it stems from their character. But that takes it to the more, internal monologue. And also those are noirish characters, right? Who are like, the city. This stuff also...
All right, Rorschach.
Well, Rorschach is that taken to the extreme. Daredevil also narrates his book often.
Totally.
Because that just fits that aesthetic. The other thing about this is, should we rip this Band-Aid off now? That, of course, this whole thing about them going down to the surface of Bespin isn't possible based on what we know of Bespin from canon. I
mean, here's the thing.
I don't think they've established at this point.
Sure. I mean, they call it like it's hovering over a gas giant, right? So, like, gas giants... Do they technically have a surface? Yes. Could you reasonably, as a thinking person made of meat and liquid, get onto that surface without turning to spaghetti? No.
And that's always how I viewed Bespin. Of course, right? It's a city hovering over an uninhabitable place where they are mining resources.
Yeah, and so when they say, like, go down to Bespin, I mean, I'm going to no-prize this, John. Maybe there are, like, stratified layers of floating cities on Bespin.
That's the only thing that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and like the poorer districts are like lower in the clouds where it's less hospitable. I don't know.
We've never seen that, but there's also nothing to refute that per se. So yeah, I think, but yes, I will say, reading this last night, I was just going, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So Lando's poking around. He's looking for everybody. This place is empty, and he
Hey,
doesn't
man.
know why.
I mean, and that's another thing too, is like, how big is Cloud City? It's a city of some size, so to get everybody off of it, you would think would take quite a feat.
I mean, and we'll find out why precisely. But Lando finds that his access code still works, and he finds out that the city was apparently evacuated due to some kind of dire emergency.
Well, that's nuts. As he uses his information computer.
Well, it's a good thing he found the information computer as opposed to like the soft serve computer.
The other thing, because he's like, "What's this? A shadow? Hey, oh, wait a minute! Why, it's my old buddy Lobot, who is." I want to talk about how big Lobot is in this comic because it changes.
Oh, don't think about the size of Lobot because it will only upset you.
Well, look at this fist that comes into frame.
Oh, when the Incredible Hulk's punches Lando Calrissian.
It does look like they took an Incredible Hulk fist and just painted it, flesh colored as opposed to green.
I mean, I took it as a forced perspective thing. It doesn't quite work.
No, I think that's what it's meant to be, but it doesn't. Lando isn't far enough back for that to work.
It just looks like a giant fist, yeah.
Yeah. But they're definitely something that, and this would have been contemporary at the time, he's got kind of a Jaws from James Bond vibe in this.
Yeah.
Where it's just like big guy that's going to throw Lando around. And it's like, that's not how I think of Lobot.
I mean, yeah, this issue definitely plays on a lot of like Jaws. I think Terminator is definitely in the mix here. I think there's a little bit of Halloween about like the implacable guy that's just going to follow you.
All these things are roughly within the same 5 to 10 year span. So there's definitely like huge hulking henchmen is big at this time. Not that it's ever gone out of style, but like there's a lot of those in pop culture at this moment.
But yeah, Lobot seems to be doing the universal thing that lets us know when a robot person is malfunctioning. That is, his speech is interrupted with a skzzt, a gzguk, and a
intruder, danger to city, must.
So we immediately know something's wrong.
Yeah, I certainly do.
And Lando maybe not putting his best foot forward, saying, "Lobot, it's me, Lando, your ex-boss."
That's as close as these two were. I used to be your boss.
You were my employee.
But he says it like, please, it's me, the guy who used to sign your paychecks. You would never hurt me. Your former supervisor.
Maybe not the best strategy there, Lando.
No, it doesn't exactly scream that they were very close friends.
But then on the next page here, he gets fropped. So yeah, maybe not the best strategy here.
Yep. Oh, dude, it is, many people have not survived a fropping from Lobot. So I'm just saying. And
especially when he's shouting, destroy, like a freaking Dalek.
And also, Lando's hurt when he says, "Auk." "Auk." That's
"Auk."
"Auk."
Then we get some unnecessary thought bubbles about how something's wrong with Lobot. Yeah, no crap, Lando.
I do love, whoa, that cyborg may have been a terrific aid, but as an enemy, he's something else. Like a juggernaut with the strength of a bantha.
And Bantha's famously strong.
I mean, I guess they would have to be just from...
They're big space cows.
Yeah, they're just from size alone. Yeah. Hey, Lobot, can't we talk this out? Okay, this is where I'm a little bit like, Lando, clearly this thing has been malfunctioning. I don't think he's going to talk. I want to reason with this robot, or this Lobot.
I'm more concerned with the bottom middle panel here. So Lando's trying to talk his way out of this. It's not working. He's dodging left and right. And then where does Lobot find this rock that he throws at Lando?
Doesn't seem like the very futuristic, pristine Cloud City would just have a bunch of rocks lying around.
I mean, I could understand if they were in a rock garden or something, but they're clearly out on the catwalks in the middle of the city here.
I didn't see any rocks when they were just walking around Cloud City.
It's like the what is it? There's in Smash Brothers, there's a move where a character just like plunges their hand into the dirt and comes up with a rock. It's just like, where did that rock come from? Don't worry about it.
At least that's the ground, though. I mean, at least you're like, okay, maybe. This is just like, where did he pulled that out of the metal of the what?
Sure, yeah, he punched a beam so hard it turned to stone ore.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is you could do the same thing with him throwing a beam at him or something, or throwing a or a wrench, or I don't know, anything. Why has he gone berserk, and why the blazes am I hanging around to find out?
Yeah, so Lando bugs out.
Yep.
Meanwhile,
we get a ship of undeniably Imperial design. Not one I'm familiar with, though. This is a goofy looking ship.
I actually really like this ship design because it is, as the narrator says, unmistakably Imperial. It's like a weird kind of mishmash of a TIE fighter and a Lambda transport.
I'm with it right up until it has a bug face.
Yeah, the bug face is a little weird.
That feels a little bit like maybe a little too much Simonson and not enough Star Wars.
Well, the man loves his bug faces.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we're not, this is not Dune, man. Where the ships are a little bit more insect-like. Although even they're not this insect-like. This guy, though. Step lively, troopers!
Yeah, we got, who is this? Captain Treese is how I said the name.
And do you love the design of the bomb squad stormtroopers?
I go back and forth on the bomb squad troopers.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of explosive expert troopers.
Oh, I like that idea. I'm talking about purely in design.
Because they look like a combination of the snow troopers with like the weird like the blank hood. Masks and the hood coming down. And they have like World War I era British metal hats on.
The hats are what get me. Because I like they've got the shoulder pads and the like ribbed armor on their arms, where it's like, okay, these are obviously like stormtrooper armor designed for explosives, right? Like they have some of that bomb squad vibe to them. The hats are just the goofiest thing to me, though. The hats really ruin the look.
I think they're supposed to evoke like really old school firefighter helmets.
I think that is what they're going for. Yeah, especially like oil fighters. There's a John Wick movie called Hellfighters, where he specifically is leading a group of guys who are putting out oil fires, and that's what it kind of feels like. When you see old forest fire, that thing of those metal helmets that aren't like they've gotten bigger and more tactical, the modern firefighter helmets. But yeah, they used to just be like a tin helmet they would put on.
Like I said, like World War I era, like trench helmet.
Yeah.
But not as like sleek as like if you're trying to keep this design cohesive, I feel like making it more like Stahl helmet, like the German trench helmet.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of imposing on Darth Vader's whole spiel.
That's his thing, yeah. I think the idea here, of course, and this is always the problem with the comic, this has to come out every month. I don't think they spent a ton of time designing these.
No, and I will say, the other thing these guys look like is a character that Walt Simonson will invent in a couple of years named Curse.
Oh, of course.
Curse with a K, of course.
Yeah, well, I think we all assumed.
But you change the color dynamic on these guys, and they're reading.
This is a guy who also made Scourge with a K, so
this is also true.
He loves a K.
But yeah, so we find out that there is a bomb here, or several bombs here on Cloud City that have been planted by the Ugnaughts of all people.
I did love the idea about like, oh shit, an Ugnaught uprising.
And we're introduced to the Imperial captain here is like, bomb squad, move out. Those damned Ugnaughts planted a crap load of bombs.
God, the Ugnaughts are pissed.
On the next page, we get a better look at the bomb troopers. Yeah, the helmets don't quite jive with the rest of it, but like, I dig the idea. I dig bits of the design.
Sure. I mean, sure. I do like the idea of them. I'm not crazy about Captain Treese, though. What a fucking, like, classic, just, like, sleazy bad guy, I guess is what word I'm looking for.
I do love the bomb trooper who speaks up here and says, but the Ugnaughts have always been law-abiding citizens. Why would they have reason to turn traitor now? Like, the Ugnaughts have a reputation for being chill dudes. Admittedly, chill dudes to a bunch of fascists, which, not great.
But I just like the idea that he's just like, did they say anything about a reason? Was that they leave a note or something? And he's just like, none that concern you, soldier. Now begin scanning.
Yeah, but in the distance, Lando is staring down at these guys.
Yeah, future star of 1989's Batman, of course.
That's true.
Billy D. Williams, who also ages about 20 years when we cut to him here. What is the creases on the face? I understand they're going for detail, but it really makes him... Suddenly, Lando's very weathered.
Well, I mean, look, he lost his business and his reputation to the Empire, and now they're just traipsing about, and he makes the assumption here that whatever made everybody evacuate, now we as the reader know that it's probably whatever these bombs are, that is not the Imperials doing, but Lando makes the assumption that whatever's happening here, it's the Empire's fault, which he's not wrong, but he's got the details wrong.
Yeah. I mean, in Star Wars, all else fails, blame the Empire. That's fair.
That's fair.
Probably.
So Lando makes the one move he's got to try to get these guys to chase him so that he can basically get them to run into Lobot for him.
I do like the way the drawing of this beam encircling this guy that he's killing.
Oh, this is some classic Walt Simonson energy beam stuff.
Oh yeah, no question about that.
Yeah, Lando vaporizes this stormtrooper, and that gets the Imperial officer and all the other troopers to be like, after him.
Him! A rebel assassin!
Yeah, I do like the line here, and don't come back until you've got that grubber's ashes with you.
That's good. I also like he's too far away, because very much on brand for stormtroopers is they just start blasting away indiscriminately. And they're like, no, you don't have the fucking... Go chase him, please. Oh, God. These guys. Are you kidding me?
Meanwhile.
How many Meanwhile, we have to go back to our favorite planet, Arbra.
Yeah, we're going to get a quick cutaway back to Arbra. We have
folks.
A jungle speeder. I like the jungle speeder.
Yes, it's basically a snow speeder, but painted with the jungle camouflage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And at the helm, Princess Leia.
Yeah, Princess Leia flying the speeder is a little weird to me, but you got to have your main characters in the book, I guess.
Yeah, there's another one where I'm trying to think. Does Leia ever fly anything?
I feel like she co-pilots the Millennium Falcon, and that's about as close as we get.
Yeah, but it never feels like she really has the stick of it as much as she's sort of like she has a base understanding for if Han or Lando is like grab that thing, hit that. But like I feel like I don't know that it's like outside of her character to think she could operate something, but it seems unlikely.
You don't think of her as a fighter pilot?
No, the idea that she's just cruising around in this speeder seems odd to me.
Well, especially when she lands and she says, have the speeder recharged immediately, Corporal. There's an anomaly in the 9th perimeter I want to check out. Like, Leia the Scout doesn't read super...
Yeah, this feels like this should be Luke, right? Who gets off and goes like, pulling left a little or something like that,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because it's just... anyway, we go into the cave.
We wouldn't have the scene we're about to have if this was Luke, though, because Leia comes down into the cave. Here's all the big crystals we talked about last issue. We've still got some Hoojibs scurrying around.
Oh, well, who could forget our new favorite characters, the Hoojibs?
Well, we're about to get introduced to our new favorite character, John, because Leia's strolling through this cave, saying hi to the rebels, and who's this? It's Luke, and Luke with some kind of brunette pilot at his side.
A hussy, I think you mean. She's a hussy.
John, think about for a moment why you're getting defensive.
Oh no, I know. I'm from the Princess Leia aspect of this.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to move in on my man.
My man who is, we know, her brother.
Her brother, and also the love of her life that's frozen in carbonite, that is conceivably the main motivation they all have to save him.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that is just like, I think Leia is coming off as the worst kind of toxic female of like, yeah, I want to save my boyfriend, but nobody's going to get, I don't want to get with Luke Skywalker, not because we're brothers and sisters, we don't know that yet, but also just like, I do still, my main goal is to get back with Han, but I also want to keep Luke open as an option.
Right.
Yeah, that's not great, Leia.
Nah, not great. Yeah, this is...
she might as well just mutter, whore, under her breath. At this point.
To Lieutenant Shira Bray is her name.
Yeah, who seems perfectly nice.
I mean, she has one line.
Yeah, I have no reason to dislike her, except for it's just like, oh, shit.
I mean, the middle bottom panel here is Leia saying, oh, well, that was very kind of you, because Luke explains that he's going to go out with Shira to go do some scouting. They think Lando's in trouble, they're going to head to Bespin.
Look at that! Look at the look she's given her in that middle panel.
But Leia says, oh, well, that was very kind of you to volunteer, Lieutenant Bray. I know Commander Skywalker will appreciate your companionship. And Lieutenant Bray comes back with, I try to please, Princess. And you can read a lot into that. It's the looks that Simonson draws here.
Oh, yeah.
But then as Luke and Shira are walking away, Leia saying, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm. Gonna go give him a hand job on the corner, probably.
Jesus.
Well, I'm just saying that I try to. What's she say? What's her line about? I try to please. Yeah, I'm just saying. It's all there, man.
And the caption boxes here say,
yeah.
The caption boxes say, these two pilots leave, and as the crystal-warmed cave grows ever slightly cooler.
Look at the hands on the hips of Leia, too, like, that fucking bitch.
Homewrecker.
Not a great look for our beloved Princess Leia here.
Yeah.
No, I don't love it. I don't love it.
We only get this page, though, for this cutaway, because now we're back to Cloud City, and Lando's dodging.
Oh, hell yeah. Lando's back, baby.
I love some of the parkour we're getting from Lando here.
I do, too. I mean, I will say, that is something you can definitely feel Simonson as not just a more modern comics artist, but like a younger, more like, I'm going to try shit comics artist, as opposed to Infantino sort of at the end of his career, is like, there's just such a dynamic action in this.
Mm-hmm. Because we have him jumping over a wall, turning back around, slapping his blaster out, shooting a guy, then he keeps running, and what's this? He's found his way into the carbonite freezing chamber.
And like we talked about, having read the Thor books and other Simonson stuff, like Simonson does love a big fight sequence, and you know, I mean, man, you talk about, you know, few draw Thor hitting something with his hammer better.
Like maybe the most iconic issue from his run is that one that is textless, and it is just Thor fighting Jormungandr.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is you really do have, and I'm not here to slag off Infantino, but I do think in the 80s we do see these writer artists like him and Frank Miller, who's working on Daredevil at this same point, or John Byrne, guys who are very comfortable telling story with art.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the thing that you get with Simonson is all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm really following. Lando leaps here, over that, turns there, shoots. So you don't need, he can do a textless issue because this guy is still thinking about story in the progression of panels, which is a much more, of course, modern approach.
Hell, you look at the top 4 panels of this page with Lando like leaping around, dodging lasers as the stormtroopers are chasing him. You could cut all of those thought bubbles he's having.
One almost could argue they should.
Because while he's doing all this jumping, Lando's thoughts are saying, so much for divide and conquer. I may have split the enemy into 2 groups, but now I have to stop this before it splits me into atoms. And it's like, A, it's stilted over 3 panels, so that's why like I read it in that way.
Yeah.
And B, all of this totally unnecessary. Okay, Lando's dodging lasers. He stops for a second. He turns. He shoots. He kills. He keeps running. Perfect.
I think if I see Lando jumping and a laser blast goes by him, he's in hot water. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just and he wants to live. Oh, wow. Perfect. Okay, great. It's just, it is something that is always the biggest hurdle I have when I read older comics. It's interesting to see because this definition of it, I sort of talk about late 70s into 80s as this is where it's being phased out. But obviously it's still the case, but is just, they're just so overwritten is my biggest issue with classic comics. It's one of the reasons that like, there was a period of time, a couple years ago, I started reading Spider-Man from the start, and I could get through maybe 5 or 6 issues before I would just be like, oh, like I gotta get to something more modern. And as great as like the Ditko art is, you would get these great Spider-Man poses, and then just surrounding him were all these words, and you're just like, he's leaping through the air. Just let him be cool, like
Yeah.
Just let me have that impact. And that's the thing that always, it's an ongoing argument between myself and friend of the show, Brendan Jones, who loves old comics, and really has a great, and I have an appreciation for them. But it's a little bit like older movies too, where I can watch some, but I can't, if I watch it too many in a row, I start to go like, hey.
Yeah.
It's
well, talking about things being wordy, they have found the first Ugnaught bomb, and they're approaching it with the bomb squad, who now have blue gloves. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We put on our bomb gloves, folks.
And what's this? The bomb can talk as we turn the page.
This might have been a bridge too far. I like Michelini a lot, but this is... and especially that it starts with, hi, guys! Something that is weird to hear in Star Wars, period, let alone from a bomb.
John, I have a game I want to play with you with this.
Okay.
Which ex-SNL comedian voices this bomb?
Period specific?
Ooh, that's an interesting twist. I was going for overall.
Oh, well, because I feel like overall, Hader
was what I first thought. Yeah.
But if I'm going period specific, Piscopo.
Ooh, okay.
Hey guys, he's got a little bit of that Jersey. Come to this army, have you? Hey, that's terrific.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear it.
Right? Yeah. Hey, I'm totally not jealous of Eddie Murphy's burgeoning movie career. Where's the Piscopo vehicles? And then the guy going, what? A talking bomb?
Why not? Those Uggies put us together with spare parts, and that included audio components. So do you want to help or what?
Yeah, I feel like Hader would do it better, but it's funnier if it's very Jersey Piscopo. The idea of just a bomb taunting these guys, like, hey, what are you going to do? You going to disarm me? Huh?
Hey, man, I'm just a bomb. I don't want to blow up.
Yeah,
do you want to blow up?
That's my favorite part. Is, hey, I don't want, you think I want to blow up? Come on.
So the bomb offers the bomb squad advice on how to disarm him.
This is pretty goofy, I will say.
So goofy. To the point where, like, it feels like the Imperial officer here kind of realizes how weird and off-putting it is, as he says, I'll just stand over here and watch for the rebel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is, I mean, humor is part of Star Wars, but I was like, oh man, this is getting pretty silly. Like,
I feel like there is a movie, is it Dark Star, where there is like literally a talking bomb on the ship with the characters?
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I think you're right about because Dark Star was John Carpenter's first movie, which was definitely a parody of space movies, particularly things like 2000. I think it is because he's parodying 2001, so I think he's doing the HAL thing. I have to go back. Right. Dark Star is very good. I recommend people check that out.
I haven't watched it in a long time because it's definitely one of those like first movies. It's like, okay, I can see the shape of things, but I don't know if it's quite there yet.
In the parlance of Blank Check, they would call that a rough draft movie. Like, the Carpenter voice is here, but he doesn't... I mean, like, that is a movie he's literally cobbling together the resources himself.
Sure.
But it is... And I think the smart thing was to make it a comedy then, because it's like, well, if it's kind of doesn't work, we're not taking this seriously anyway. But I think you're right, it is Dark Star.
But we have a cut back to Lando, who is creeping around in the carbonite freezing chamber, and he's still got some stormtroopers after him, and we get a long series of thought bubbles, basically saying, I gotta deal with these guys, which, again, it's very obvious.
Yeah. Oh, no. Imperials. I should kill them. So what I do like, so what now? I could run a bluff, but violence isn't my usual game. That's not entirely true, but because one of the things I do like about Lando is he does try to talk first, but he can, quick draw and murder as well. But so what? Now what? Smooth talk, chicane. I feel like these words chicanery.
Chicanery, bird impressions.
Bird impression. I wish he had tried a twit 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 twit.
I just want the stormtrooper's reaction of like, damn, the pigeons got in again.
Oh, curses. This is terrible. We are up in the sky. It was the thing here. Ah, heck. And then turn the page, and he full-on Errol Flynn's this fucker.
Okay, I had to go back and forth between these two pages. This doesn't make any sense. Lando pulls a cord out of a wall. He swings down. He kicks all three of them into the carbonite freezing pit that we saw Han lowered into in Empire Strikes Back. Now, go back to the previous page.
Yeah.
We will see that the three stormtroopers are in a circle around that pit.
Correct. How does he kick all three of them?
Correct.
Yeah. Because he could get two of them on this side, but the one on the third side...
Two of them if he was Jean-Claude Van Damme and did the splits. And clotheslined him with his legs.
Can I just pitch a world where Van Damme was in a Star Wars movie?
Who does Van Damme play in a Star Wars?
I feel like he's a Force-sensitive character who's not a Jedi. Because that guy, he's not going to have the sort of wisdom and of a Jedi, but he's a guy who can use the Force, but he's mainly using it for martial arts.
For kicking, yes.
They find he would definitely be in a blood sport type thing where he's in some sort of pit where they forced him to fight aliens for his own survival.
He's in Jabba the Hutt's Kumite.
Yeah. This is the Star Wars movie I would write that Disney would be like...
It's also just blood sport, but in Star Wars.
It's super R-rated. He's tearing out throats and stuff. They're like, no, come on, you can't. I'm like, wow.
No, so long as all the blood is green and yellow, that's fine. It.
So that's the thing. It's just Van Damme shirtless and like a loincloth, basically, and he's covered in alien goo. That's what you get, Jabba.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man!
Anyway, in a maneuver that makes like no logistical sense, Lando kicks all three of these guys. He also loses his cape for a panel here. Don't know quite what happened there.
I don't know what happened there. But and I do like that because one of them is like, but yeah, this is a total Errol Flynn, and also very Batman-y once again when his cape on the one panel unfurls into straight up wings. Basically,
totally, yeah. Yeah, and he's going a little Moon Knight here.
Yeah, it's and even when you see him impact them, you see the two guys in front of him fall. It's unclear how that third guy ended up in there.
He tripped.
Yeah, no shit. You know what? They're stormtroopers. I could buy that, actually.
Have you ever done that thing where, like, in trying to dodge an incoming object, you actually move yourself into the way of that object?
Yeah, I think that reads legitimate to me.
Okay. Like, yeah, he sees this kick coming, and the stormtrooper like tries to like duck, and in doing so, just hurls himself face first into the pit. There's a Wilhelm scream. Yeah,
because it's probably that guy going, "What? Look at oh boy!"
And thankfully, comic book version of the carbonite pit takes way shorter time than the movie version because Lando just hits a button and these guys are frozen.
Frozen, yeah, and frozen in a way that isn't like carbonite, though.
Oh no, these guys are dead.
Yeah, because there's like icicles hanging off of them, which are like that's not what carbonite freezing is.
Well, and like the big square thing that's like over the pit that like lowered Han down and like put him in the little like coffee table that he ends up in isn't down there. So I feel like this is.
If anyone knows where I can get that coffee table,
Oh, it has to exist. It
Oh,
has
I've
to
seen
exist.
it. No, I legitimately do want that in my home. I've seen you just put the piece of glass over it. And it's the best coffee table. I want that, and I want the Wampa rug.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it looks like a bearskin rug, but it's a Wampa skin rug. Come on.
Would you prefer Wampa, or do you want the Tauntaun sleeping bag?
Oh, that is pretty good. By the way, still single, ladies. And it's going to stay that way if I keep putting those things in my house.
Next step, we're back with the bomb squad, and it turns out the bomb was lying to them.
I just love the idea of these guys, and they got their little clippers out, and going, that green wire, the red wire. Yeah. Almost done, fellas. One more twist on that grathometer, and everything should be hunky-dory. Hunky-dory.
I love that Imperial Bomb Squad troopers trusted a bomb. The thing they are trained to defeat.
Yeah, wouldn't any level of intelligence would imply it's like, maybe we do the exact opposite of what the bomb is telling us to do. But they really believe this. I guess in a word, this brings us back to, and of course we can't because it'll destroy the show, talk about droid sentience. But maybe they are going, we're used to robots being like, please don't hurt me. So maybe there is a neurotic bomb in their mind that is like, please, I don't want to blow up.
I mean, the bomb squad guy here says, it almost sounded as if we activated the detonator instead of deactivating it. And the robot bomb comes back at him and says, that's probably because you did, suckers.
Suckers! This was a suicide mission from day one for Bommy over here.
And followed by an enormous faboom.
Yeah. I also just like this implies they're bad at their job. Like, they wouldn't have known what to do.
John, again, we're talking about stormtroopers here. Yes,
I understand,
it's implied they're bad at their job.
Yeah, it's true. I guess that's but you would think these guys are specialists.
They got the hats and everything.
Yeah, we've got the hats and the gloves. Come on.
But I know what these guys remind me of now. Moltar from Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah. Serious Moltar vibes, no question. Which is not great. That's not what you want in your elite bomb squad.
It's Moltar vibes.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm looking at Moltar again. Yo, God, 100%. I mean, Moltar is more hazmat suit, but definitely the vibe is the same.
Color scheme is different. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God, I love space.
But especially like this one in the top left corner at the console there, twisting knobs and stuff. Yeah. That's some Moltar from Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Does this mean that they are... Because I said they must have some idea of how to design a bomb. So it takes to the very last minute for this guy to be like, wait, have we been activating this thing? Well, the bomb said... This seems wrong, but the bomb did say... So...
If you can't trust a bomb, who can you trust?
By the way, I don't think Space Ghost Coast to Coast is on Max anymore, and it should be.
That is sad.
Yeah, that needs to be out there, folks.
There are larger structural issues with the companies that Warner Discovery owns. That's for sure. Part of it is Space Ghost Coast to Coast not being on Max.
Yeah. Oh, Warner.
Anyway, explosion happens.
Yeah.
We see something that is actively upsetting, which is a Cloud City off its kilter.
That's not great.
Lando's tumbling around, but then what's this? A charging bald man coming down the corridor.
Can I just ask about, we must be losing Tibanna gas.
Yep. Tibanna gas is the kind of gas that Cloud City mines. They say that in Empire.
Okay. That did not stick with me. But
do you want to know what Tibanna gas does, John?
What does that do?
It creates a lighter than air effect.
They mentioned that actually in here.
It's anti-gravity stuff.
They do mention something about anti-grav gas in here.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's why it's listing. Is that why? So it's I guess because it's top heavy, so it's falling over like this if it's losing gravity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to. Central computer must have told the Lobot, once again the Lobot, someone was using carbon freeze, and something tells me I'd better find another way. Just the idea. I kind of want just the slasher film movie that is Lando creeping around and Lobot stalking at, because it's just like...
You need a mod of Alien Isolation, but you're playing as Lando, and it's Lobot instead of the Xenomorph.
100%, yeah.
Okay, sure.
But let's turn the page and deal with some of the internal turmoil of Lobot.
Yeah, Lobot has... So what's going on with Lobot is his brain is malfunctioning because it's mostly been replaced by that weird, like, reverse Geordie LaForge visor. Mm-hmm. He is trying to track down the intruder, but it's because he has this, like, final mission parameter that he needs to fulfill, which is actually saving the city.
Right.
And he thinks killing Lando will fulfill that.
I also like the comic Lando going like, I better find another way. And then you turn the page and the comic itself is going good thinking to Lando.
We call that a reverse Claremont. It's when your omniscient narrator tells the character a good job rather than telling them how foolish they are.
Great work, Lando. From the comic.
Right. Well, as opposed to Claremont, who'd go, Scott Summers, you dumb, dumb idiot.
Look at this fucking idiot here. He's about to make a horrible mistake, and he has no idea. Oh, let's watch how this turns out. That's Claremont, folks.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes, Wolverine. Yeah. But yeah, intruder gone. Must save city. Find intruder and kill.
And he's like sweating white stuff like he's again from Alien.
Yeah, these guys took a lot of influence from me. I think you guys were watching Alien movies more than you were watching Star Wars movies. Anyway, luckily though, that explosion didn't blow too big a hole. Looks pretty big, Lando.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Lando's still thinking it's the Imperials who did this. And then what's this? An Imperial.
With his triangle gun.
Well, we love a good triangle gun, John. Sometimes you draw guns and they just come out as triangles.
Also, this guy's like on the ground having been blown back from an explosion, and he's like, "You are my prisoner." It's like, yeah, I don't think you.
I mean, immediately on the next page, Lando's like, "Seems to me, friend, that we're each other's prisoner."
Yeah. And he's just like, "Oh yeah," and then by God, they're gonna have to team up.
Yeah, so Lando and Captain Treese teaming up to try to figure out what's happening here.
By the way,
this is when Lando learns about all the bombs.
I don't know if people have this man's by name, but do you just Google the character actor John Carroll Lynch, because that is what Captain Treese looks like. People might know him as Drew Carey's brother from the Drew Carey show.
Oh, yeah.
Billion things. But that is what particularly in this middle panel here, he looks like character actor John Carroll Lynch, who actually I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up in a Star Wars movie because that guy's in everything.
Yeah, it's just like a background rando Imperial captain. Sure, why not?
Absolutely. I mean, we already had Bosch, so.
Yeah. All right, so we get a little bit of backstory here. The Ugnaughts, yeah, they were those little pig guys that were crawling around underneath Cloud City, and it turns out, as an act of rebellion, they built 12 bombs, now 11 because one has detonated.
The thing I love is that, once again, this is so foreign to everybody, that they're like, it's the Ugnaughts, and Lando's like, what? The Ugnaughts?
But those guys are so chill.
Yeah. Those lackeys, well, maybe if you stop calling them lackeys, yeah, they were separating, because of course we saw them when 3PO was thrown away for scrap in Empire. Mm-hmm. And these, by the way, these look like the Ugnaughts I remember, but
Ugnaughts still pretty chill because they warned everybody they were doing this, and so everyone had time to evacuate.
Yeah, they were, but clandestinely, they employed some of those components to construct bombs.
Sarcastic, evil, rude bombs.
It's right, yeah. You're disarming me. Sure. Him saying suckers is I need more sarcastic bombs and stuff. Yeah, nice try, sucker.
So, yeah, this is when Treese and
get-
Lando decide to team up to find the rest of the bombs. But to do that, they're gonna need Lobot.
What?
The Lobot? But why?
I do also like this idea, like, well, why would they want to blow up Cloud City? It's like, because we put them all out of work. Well, maybe just give them the jobs back? Never!
Yeah, I mean, Captain Treese does say they wish mining operations to return to the surface of their home planet below, so they can once more be miners instead of menials.
Okay, I don't even want to get into it.
Yep. Also, I'm gonna quick to Wikipedia.
They're not.
Bespin?
I mean,
no.
There's no way. Well, because nothing is native to Bespin. It's a gas giant.
I mean, as far as we know.
Yeah. Once again, as always, the caveat of we know more than the comic just because of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there's the thought in this. You know, I mean, like I follow the logic of this, but it's throwing just enough to make a modicum of sense.
Ugnaughts' home planet is called Gentis. It is a planet in the Outer Rim territories.
Does that say where that first showed up by any chance? Where
that is mentioned?
Yeah.
And again, this is in the canon section, so who knows if Legends is... let's see. First appearances is first mentioned in Star Wars Uprising, which is a comic series, I believe, from 2015. Or no, this is from a mobile game.
I was gonna say I don't know Uprising by name. I've never seen
Uprising takes place shortly after the events of Return of the Jedi, deals with the aftermath of the Battle of Endor, and it was in 2015, and then they stopped supporting it in 2016. And
so it only lasted a little over a year, and yet it's canon.
Technically, yeah.
I guess everything is canon until it's refuted, right?
I will say there is a whole short story in The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view that is Ugnaught-centric that does also mention it. Okay.
All right. So that's been confirmed, but I don't remember this at all, and that's probably because it wasn't around very long. Did you ever play any of this?
Gentis is first mentioned in Galaxy Guide 2, Yavin and Bespin, a supplement for the 1980s Star Wars Legends role-playing game. Of course it is.
Yeah. By the way, I'm looking at the promotional poster for Star Wars Uprising. My God, every character on this poster just looks like they've combined other Star Wars characters to make and they're also, it's weird because I guess Force Awakens would have been announced but hadn't come out yet. But there's a guy who just straight up looks like Oscar Isaac, but he's in an Imperial uniform.
Yeah, and the bad guys definitely are what if Darth Vader had a bigger, meaner cousin?
Yeah. And there's a Bosk guy. And then just
Trandoshan, come on, John.
The main, I'm sorry, lizard guy. I don't know. And then the main guy in the center here looks like if you cobbled together the features of all 8 of the highest grossing male movie stars, morph them into a person. And then there's a Sith looking lady over here. Yeah, I don't know. This looks pretty generic. I guess it wasn't super popular, so.
Well, yeah.
They tried, though. Hey, man.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Back to the comic.
Sorry.
We can debate the origins of Ugnaughts.
Yeah. It's just a lot is thrown into this, because the big thing they keep saying in the beginning of this, too, is that the Empire has come in and automated a lot. They've put pretty much everyone out of work. They've turned this whole thing.
Well, Lando assumes that. That's actually not true.
Oh, that would be the mistake.
Yeah. Lando is making a lot of assumptions that, if you just, are casually reading this comic, you can take as fact. And the comic never really goes out of its way to say Lando is wrong.
Yeah, well, that's not a good way to write a story.
Hey, you know what is, though? A rampaging Lobot.
Look out, man. Prime directive: protect city. Must kill.
He's just like wandering around like a late 60s, early 70s Frankenstein.
100%. He's got straight up monster movie vibes. And he is just going, kill, 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 kill. Must kill. Yeah.
So when Lando shows up and says, "Hey, Lobot, there's something I forgot to tell you. You're fired."
That just sends him into looks
his
like
response,
a nerve.
His response, of course, is kill.
Yeah. His actual response is growl.
Well, that's just Lobot for kill.
I mean, now he just is the Frankenstein creature. Let's be honest. Oh shit.
Well, if the Frankenstein creature could like have a 12-foot horizontal leap, because Lando's running.
Welcome to the next thing I want to talk about. Lobot's superhuman strength takes him 12 meters in a single leap. Wait, what? That's new info, isn't it? I didn't remember Lobot having superpowers.
We never saw Lobot like handily picking up a stormtrooper and hurling him off a catwalk.
Seems like that would have come into play, right? If that was the case when they were escaping the
Lobot punching through Durasteel walls, I think, would have come up.
Yeah, and also doing this is a straight up $6 million man, like
yeah, for real.
Yeah, blast! I forgot about Lobot's superpowers. we all did, Lando. We were unaware of them up to this point. So
we did not know. Yeah. So Lando goes flying down a like access chute. He comes around a corner.
I have so many questions about where they're moving from, because like he's right behind him, but then he has to leap up 12 meters. Then Lando's jumping up into it. The geography of this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, all that matters is it's a chase sequence. Don't worry about the...
But like the levels that they're going between, I can't follow. Anyway, Lando gets goes through some sort of tube. This access.
And he's hiding around a corner and thinks to himself, could I have lost him? And then a huge, enormous Hulk-like fist smashes the wall next to his head.
It Karishes it good, man.
And Lando thinks to himself, offhand, I'd say no.
You don't need any of it, but I do like the just like, could I possibly have lost him? Offhand, I'd say no. Oop, I guess not.
So Lando keeps fleeing, Lobot in hot pursuit. They come around a corridor, and
the top panel in the corner here is such a Scooby-Doo. Like they're just both at full sprint going whoop, 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 whoop.
Well, we don't quite have like a hallway full of doors that they're going back and forth.
Not quite, although when he skids to a stop and you get the Kirby crackle on Lando stopping.
Yeah, I mean it's a forceful stop. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like full Kirby crackle.
It's on its way though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lando's cornered. But wait, was this all part of the plan?
Because he calls out Treese, and then a huge robot arm swoops down and grabs Lobot.
Grabs him in a futuristic claw machine from the lobby of a Bennigan's.
I mean, look, Lobot could fit right in with Palpatine in terms of guys suspended by weird claw machines.
Palpatine's like, I hear that. Ooh, an interesting idea.
This Lobot guy is a trendsetter.
Yeah. You know, I got this idea from Lobot, actually. They cut out that deleted scene from Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. One of many, I'm sure.
56 of Star Wars. I thought, ooh, a claw machine. Now that's cool.
I once visited the planet Bespin. They had these things they called people grabbers, and I was like, oh yeah, get me one of those.
You know, someday I'm going to just be sort of a decrepit corpse hidden somewhere. This is really going to buy me 6 of those. Yeah, so, but Lobot, once again, with his superhuman strength, bashes his way out of this claw.
But not before Lando swoops in and grabs a doohickey off his head to turn him off.
The motivational programming capsule. Which is just right there. You can just pluck it.
Like a grape. Just...
Is him shutting down.
So they shut him down, and Treese is like, wow, I can't believe that worked. And Lando was like, hey, we actually work together. Holy crap.
Yeah, that stupid plan worked for some reason. And then Lando goes about performing cyborg surgery?
Sure, why not?
Also,
I don't know. Lando's a man of many talents. I can believe he could work on Lobot's weird robot brain.
I just don't know. That's the thing about this, right? Is you just the idea that it seems to this like Lobot just already worked there when Lando started. Whereas, of course, now we know that Lobot is like his companion in the comics. So I think that's the thing is I'm just having to... Because, like, in a world where Lobot is like his friend, I totally buy this. But in a world where it's just like he was my aide, I don't know that I believe he figured out how to work on Lobot.
Well, I mean, look, you try to make it so your Palm Pilot works at your business job, right, John? Same idea.
Palm Pilot?
BlackBerry, fine, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
Pager?
fine.
What technology are you using now?
You guys have pagers at your work? But I also this whole idea about just like, well, obviously the Ugnaughts knew that the only person who could stop the bombs was Lobot, so they fucked him up.
Yeah, apparently the Ugnaughts did this as well.
They gave him a shot to the circuits. What?
Right in the circuits. That's where circuits are. It's in his brain pan.
Only the damage didn't kill him; it just made him a little crazy.
Oh, like it do.
Yeah, and so then Lobot's fine.
Yeah, Lobot gets up. You need not be concerned, sir. My mental processes are now functioning normally.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read him too.
I mean, he's got these weird like squared off text boxes.
And he's just like, all right, great. Well, everything's going to be just fine because then... Okay, let's get into some real weird shit with Lobot.
Then Lobot uses his mental robot telepathy to tell the bombs to stop?
Yep. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, that's Lobot talking. Yeah, boys, we better shut down.
To be fair, we don't see any of the other bombs talking. Maybe there was just one sarcastic bomb.
And they were just really hoping that was the one they found first.
Lull them into a false sense of security with the sarcastic bomb.
Well, I guess they were building it based off of stuff they found, right? So one of the things they found was a speaker system.
All right, so Captain Therese is like, how the hell are we going to disarm all the bombs? And Lando's like, very carefully. You see. And then he goes on to explain robot psychics.
Yeah, I mean, man.
Cyborgs have certain abilities the rest of us lack. For instance, they can focus energy to manipulate objects without actually touching them. With luck, the Lobot should be able to use that power to get past any safeguard mechanisms and detach the bomb's primer circuit. He's describing the Force.
Yeah, but he's basically just like, so some cyborgs also have basically the Force.
Or, I don't know, like technopathy, I guess would be the technical term.
Yeah. But my God, has Lobot become a Deus Ex Machina at this point?
His brow crackles with, like, pink psychic energy. This is Marvel, like, shorthand for, like, psychic powers. His pink energy around his head.
Of course, absolutely. You see this from The Vision, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange. All of these people have this effect.
Yep, this is big Jean Grey, Professor X, any big psychic
Magneto
mojo
from
coming.
time to time, you know?
Yeah. If you're controlling things with your brain, you got pink energy around you sometimes.
Yeah, energy is pink inherently in the world of Marvel, no question.
And a lot of the time it looks really cool. You get little like bubbly crackles around his head.
Yeah, because in books like Doctor Strange, you're like, oh, people have mental powers, or X-Men. I follow that. Star Wars? Tech-based mental powers too?
Yeah. This is just we need to end the issue in a couple pages.
Yeah. I mean, when you cut to that close-up of him, like, that is full on, like, number one, he's looking like Uatu with his face taking up the whole panel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
But, yeah, he does it.
Off. Yeah, pretty easily, too. Good job, Lobot.
I was merely performing my ordered task, sir. Will there be anything else?
Well, and this brings up this whole thing about, and because, once again, he's a character that gets expanded on later, but, like, he's written as pure robot here.
Pretty much.
I am doing my task. And it's like, that kind of, defeats the purpose of this being, like, a man with machinery in him.
Yeah, and I mean, this book goes back and forth on like where does the line between man and machine begin and end? Because like Valance, clearly he had like hot under the collar, self-hating robot energy, up and down, and Lobot is sort of the opposite end of that spectrum.
Right. But also, Valance was so much more robotic. Like, he, literally had like a robot skeleton. This guy has like a machine that's implanted in him, but he's still mostly person, I think.
We think. Well, I mean, he's got superhuman strength and weird magic techno powers, so who knows?
Oh, he is so overpowered in this. You want to talk about people complaining about characters in modern Star Wars being overpowered? Boy, the internet would have been on fire back then had it existed.
So now we've kind of got this detente with Lando and Captain Treese coming to an end, as Lando's saying, look, about the Ugnaughts, if they really did set up these bombs to protest their position, maybe you should just change that position.
And he's like, no fucking way!
And then fucking Spartan kicks him off the edge of Cloud City.
Treese, you slime-licking, slit-eared son of a...
Our last page is Lando plummeting off of Cloud City.
And I already love the title of the next issue. Hello, Bespin. Goodbye.
I liked this issue. It had its weirdness, but I liked it.
I did too, because it's goofy in a fun way, at least, right? It's not as frustrating. It's more just like, wait, what? Talking bombs and stuff like that. It still isn't like great Star Wars, but at least this was a fun read.
Yeah, and Lando at the center of it is good. Despite the like overpopulation of thought bubbles, I do think Michelini gets the Lando voice pretty good.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, because even in the overwritten thought bubbles, he still sounds like Lando. There's just too much of it.
Yeah,
but no, that for sure. I think Michelini is trying. Like I said, like a lot of the weirdness in this comic is he doesn't have this information, so he is trying to guess at stuff. So I can't fault him too much for not knowing things he can't know. So I do think in general, and like I said, he's trying to expand. He's trying to go, okay, here's this Lobot character. What's his deal? These Ugnaughts, I'm going to try to expand. He's doing what will eventually be more solidified by like expanded universe people.
Totally. But even at this point, we're at the stage where characters like Lobot and the Ugnaughts, they've got toys. So there's room to breathe where like character interest is concerned. People have some idea of these characters. They know the name Lobot, even if it's never said in Empire Strikes Back.
It's true, yeah. They never do say Lobot in the movie, do they?
I think Lando might say it once in reference to him.
Yeah. But
same with Ugnaughts. Like they might mention Ugnaughts briefly, but Lando mostly talks about my people in that movie.
Yeah. My people.
Mm-hmm. My people taking care of it. I swear.
I highly recommend.
They promised me they would.
If they haven't seen the Key and Peele Lando Calrissian sketch, I highly recommend. With Key as Lando and Peele as a Cloud City like fanboy. Lando! Yes, hello, citizen. He just won't leave him alone. I do have to get to a meeting. Lando, I got a couple of questions. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, overall, definitely it's an improvement. Michelini and Simonson are Simonson art a lot better, obviously.
Yeah, and again, the fact that Simonson's helping plot this, again, that's probably more just like a storytelling on a visual level, because it's tough to tell where like a plot credit, how far that gets you.
Well, it does make you start to go, like we were talking about, it's like, did he like plot out whole action sequences? And Michelini's like, I better put in some thought bubbles while we're here.
Well, look,
I better earn my money.
I don't know if Marvel house writers were paid by the word, but it feels like it sometimes.
It does feel like that sometimes. Absolutely. I don't know what the process was at this point, because obviously we're moving away from Marvel method in comics at this point, but we're not fully there yet. It's an interesting time in comics too. We keep talking about this because this is a real transitionary time in comics where a new generation of guys like Simonson and Frank Miller and John Byrne are changing what a comics creator is.
Well, we're in this like weird transitionary period. I would say we're kind of like moving out of the Bronze Age in some ways. For those who don't know, like the metallic ages of comic books, there's like Golden Age, Silver Age, and then the like 70s into the 80s, a lot of people refer to as the Bronze Age.
Yeah, the post Golden Age, Silver Age stuff starts to get I'd say Bronze Age is pretty well recognized. What it's called after that and where that starts, though, because then you get into like the Modern Age, and you're like, wait a minute, now we've left metals behind?
Right, and like Modern Age is like a weird qualification because as we obviously time keeps moving, the Modern Age is now like 4 times larger than the Silver Age was.
Right, that's exactly, yeah, you start to go like, oh, wait, does the Modern Age start in like 1985? Like, I don't, what do you that's a long time.
We're not comic book historians necessarily. No. Like by necessarily, I mean, we're not.
The Golden Age is like 10 years, like.
Yeah.
And then other parts of it are 40 years, so it's an interesting, yeah. I don't know. I think at a certain point, it's more just like we stopped kind of keeping track.
Well, and like there is something to be said for like modern comic book styles and like obviously as you go through the years in comic books there are trends that come and go, but at least in terms of like how comics are created and like the writing styles that become prevalent, we have sort of settled into a groove, I will say.
For sure, and but within it, we now talk more about decades. Like it's all the modern age, but you're like, I can pick up a comic and go, oh, I know the '90s.
Pouches for days.
Pouches, man. They had a lot to carry. Superheroes had a lot to carry in the '90s. but
I think that's gonna do it for this issue. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want more from us, you can head over to our brand spanking new Patreon page, patreon.com/punchup. Ent. That's punch up ENT. You head over there. Gorgoni, as always, will remind you about that. You can remember. Sorry, I thought your bit about how Ent is the tree people from.
Oh, that's a good way to remember it, John. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, see,
Gorgoni, like the tree people from Lord of the Rings. Ents. Oh, good.
Ent. Yeah, good. Yeah,
thanks, John. I tricked you into doing the bit this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, you can have over there. There's tons of content over there at different levels. Not just stuff from not just Star Wars related stuff, but stuff from Material Components, Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, all that stuff. Or you can check it out where, Gorgoni?
Over at our YouTube page. I would argue one of the better ways to consume our content, especially this show, is at youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. There you can watch our beautiful faces as well as read the comic along with us as we display it on your screen of choice, whether primary or secondary screen. I know, we're a podcast, so we're probably sitting over there maybe in a window that's behind the game you're currently playing, but we appreciate you being there anyway. And while you're there, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comment below, how's Lando gonna get out of this one? I mean, he got flung off a freaking Cloud City. There's no like big sandy beaches or mattress stores for him to land on down there.
This looks like the end. Yeah,
but please follow us over there. Really appreciate it.
Indeed. But I think it's going to do it for this week, Gorgoni.
I think it will, because as always, I have been Mike Gorgoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And may the panel be with you.